Welcome to Three Things. Tonight's guest is Chicago royalty. He's the great nephew of Frank Lefty Rosenthal, a man who's a fixture at Lot B tailgates and in-game Section 108 experiences. If you were at our Reggie's event in January and couldn't buy a drink because someone kept buying them for you, it was this guy. He recently joined Austin Zick and Matt Berkland in an 8-mile run from Wrigley Field down to Sox Park to crush some brews, and may have even stopped outside of the beef deck for a quick chat with me and the missus while practicing perfect social distancing. One of the real nice guys of White Sox Twitter. I want to bring on to the stage right now our guy, Sam Mendelson. Sam, welcome to Three Things, baby.
Happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Excellent shirt, excellent banner behind you, but I got to ask the $10,000 question. Why the hell did you run 8 fucking miles? And when you showed up out in front of my deck, you didn't look like you really wanted to run 8 miles that day.
You know what? I was kind of giving it to peer pressure. That was Austin is in a little better shape than I am. I have to say he kind of came up with the idea, and Berkland kind of said yes. Berkland agreed. Berkland had let me know that he had done some long distance running in the recent past. So I was kind of subjected to saying yes. And as soon as we got there, I heavily regretted the decision that I made. Especially because I go to Berkland. I look at, Berkland's, great guy, pretty in shape. I go to Berkland. I'm like, how are you doing, like, with, before this? You think you can handle it? He goes, oh yeah, no problem. I go to Austin, and Austin's like, oh, I do this. I did one 2 weeks ago. I go, oh, I'm fucked. So I'm a tall, skinny, white Jewish kid, but at the same time, I'm not a long distance fucking runner. And I was dead after about the first like mile and a half. I was about ready to call it. I was like, guys, I'm just gonna head to my apartment now, and we'll meet up later on. But we did it. Yeah.
Treasy, my Sox summer. They come around the corner, and I could see them coming up Stewart, and they're walking by this point. They had come onto the street on a trot, and then they could kind of see, so they're like walking up or whatever. And Berkland and Austin, they look like runners, and they look like, oh man, this is what we do. And Sam looked like they had woken him up off his couch and said, come on, we're going to go do something fun. And he didn't know what the fuck they were going to do. And then he ran 8 miles. That's what he looked like. He was like, oh, fuck, But to your credit, you were not huffing and puffing. You maybe weren't enjoying it that much, but you seem like you're in good enough shape to have made it.
Yeah, I handled my own for sure, but it's not something I'll be rushing to do again. I can tell you that.
All right, this is Three Things. So, Sam, thing number 2 is a question from you for the group to discuss. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, so it's kind of an open-ended question. I kind of thought about this the other day. As soon as you messaged me, I'm like, okay, I got to think of something good, right? And I kind of brought this up to a few people. It's baseball related. If you could, we'll put it this way. Let's go back to 2016, right? During what a catastrophic fucking season that was. That 2015, 2016 was just not. It wasn't going anywhere, right? But you did have guys on cheap, very team friendly contracts, whatever.
Right.
If you guys are each Rick Hahn in 2016, and what we know right now, baseball, I'm going to say this, I said this earlier, I think baseball is, I hope we get a season, but we don't know for sure. And we don't know what next year is going to be either. Like, there's been rumors of a strike. A lot of these guys are taking shorter contracts. A lot of these veteran guys aren't looked at as what they used to be. Given a possible 2 years of service time lost for a lot of our cheap talent, do you think Rick Hahn, or if you're Rick Hahn, are you rebuilding in 2016? Are you still rebuilding, knowing what we know now?
Okay. Interesting.
Yes. I would. I think they would. Because I think the revisionist, I don't want to use that term because it gets used a lot, but revisionist history or whatever, like looking back at it, you're going to say, well, we could have done this or whatnot. But it is, God, that team was so, they just weren't going anywhere. And it wasn't just 2016. It had been since 2012, 2013, where they were just stuck. They were stuck in the mud and the tires were just spinning. And we keep bringing in these like quick little fixes, and it just didn't work. I feel like he would have done it. You had to blow it up. You just had to do it.
Even so, I agree, and I think I asked this to a few people, and I got a couple mixed reviews, like unbiased. A buddy of mine said that he wouldn't, which I actually felt was kind of interesting because one, you had Chris Sale on. I mean, you had Chris Sale under a very team-friendly, cheap, controlled contract, right? Like, we gave up a lot of years of Chris Sale, right? And obviously the whole, like, okay, he got hurt, Quintana regressed, but at the same time, that team, forget the whole clubhouse chemistry, whatever. I don't always buy into that. I think if we know, assuming that this year, until I'm told otherwise, I'm assuming this year is – I mean, we don't know yet, right? We don't know if it's lost. We don't know if we're going to get a season. We don't know. It's already almost May, and there's no sign of, any sort of definite, answer, right? I think you still rebuild, but at the same time, I think that team in 2015, 2016 was probably like, I mean, you had Jeff Samardzija, you had Quintana, and you had Chris Sale. Those are – I don't think that team is going to make the playoffs, but like, I think there's an argument to be had. No.
See, I probably wouldn't end up rebuilding if I was in charge in 2016. I mean, one thing, I would still have Tatis Jr. because I would have paid way more for James Shields. Then I would have told him, hey, man, why don't you just drop that arm angle down a little bit, be that Cy Young, that old Treasy knows you can be. And then we would have went to the playoffs. And then so, I mean, like, it's a whole different history. You put me in there talking with James Shields and getting things right in the way that we could have. But so I'm going to say I wouldn't have. I would have probably extended Shields. And then we'd still be we'd have Shields and Sale together. With Quintana as your number 3. I mean, that's pretty solid. I don't know. Maybe bring back Jake Peavy. I could have done a lot. We could have really made something out of it. But unfortunately, I'm not in charge. We had to rebuild. And then that's just how it is.
I still, you know what I didn't know? I had no idea James Shields was cousins with Aaron Rowan.
Yeah. Oh, I did not know that either.
I feel like everyone's related to Aaron Rowan.
They said it like 17,000 times during his tenure. What is it, that word? You know what word I'm saying?
Yes. White Sox summer. My
His
God.
tenure.
I still think you rebuild, but like, I mean, you've got Chris Sale, fucking Hall of Famer, on like the best contract ever. You've got Quintana, who was at the time the top 15, 20 starter. I mean, we're lucky if Giolito becomes even anywhere near what Chris Sale is, right? We're lucky if sure. Let's say, we're gonna go with like a Dylan Cease, right? Are we lucky if Dylan Cease becomes what Jose Quintana is? I think
we're lucky if Dylan Cease is a starter.
Exactly.
Wait, what'd you say? I couldn't hear that.
I said we're lucky if Dylan Cease is a starter.
That's what I'm saying.
No, hold on.
Right. And I think you still, Treasy, I think you still blow it up. But there were people that didn't want to blow it up fucking 4 years ago, right?
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
I mean, I think.
Yeah.
When I say you're lucky if Dylan Cease is a starter, what I'm saying is when they made that trade for Jimenez. Like, that's what that trade was for.
Right.
At that point, I think a lot of people were like, this guy could be a late inning bullpen guy for sure. And that was enough. That was enough between Jimenez and Cease to say, this is totally worth doing this. And it's correct.
Right.
That is totally worth doing it. But you could exceed that and have him be a starter. And I think that has a little bit of luck to it. I'd love to see it. And they're trying to do it. But I don't think that's what they walked in thinking, like, we definitely have a starter here.
Zero. Dylan Cease was at that time, I'm going to be like, that time was a wild card, right? Like, you're taking Dylan Cease, which the Cubs obviously saw him. I mean, he wasn't a top prospect for the Cubs. I mean, we traded thinking Dylan Cease was hopefully going to be a guy you're going to plug in the bullpen. I mean, if we can get top, 4 to 5 starter material out of Dylan Cease, even right now, what we've seen, I think we're lucky. So to compare him, and Dylan Cease, he's not making any money, right?
Yeah.
And you're looking at Giolito's. We're lucky if Giolito and Cease can become what Sale and Quintana were 4 years ago, right?
Totally agree.
Yeah, that'd be shooting the moon on those trades.
For sure. I think for me, I think that time was a very weird time because you had an interesting conversion there. They had it was that deal when Hahn decided to blow the thing up in the Sale deal and the Eaton deal and such. That was the last time that it seemed like a team could really cash in, except for kind of outlier deals like the Jared Kelenic deal or something like that. It was the last time you were going to get full bore for a prime starter, any sort of like top player in that moment, and get the amount of prospects that you got it then. Subsequent trades have been a lot lighter. Teams have been more interested in holding on to the prospects. However, there's also a time in baseball when the market price for the 2-win player, just a regular decent guy that you could plug in any spot, like a 2-win left fielder or 2-win third baseman or whatever, their prices have been plummeting down. So it's more expensive to get the stars, but it's cheaper to get just those average kind of regular ass players that the White Sox really, that's what they kind of needed. They had the stars. They had Abreu killing it. They had Eaton, they had Sale, they had Quintana. What they need is just some regular ass fucking guys who were not terrible. However, Hahn was so bad at acquiring those type of players all throughout his tenure that I think you had to rebuild only because it didn't fit his skill set. If you're gonna cut Hahn and get a different GM that could do that, maybe you keep him.
I think there are. Sharif, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say that's something. If in 2016, rather than rebuild, would you just fire Hahn?
Oh, if I was in charge, for sure. If I'm in Kenny's seat or I'm in Jerry's seat, I'd fire Hahn. 100%.
MSS, go ahead, because you've wanted to say something for a while.
Who, me?
Yeah. No,
all right. I didn't hear.
Been wanting to say
my fucking chair was squeaking. My chair was squeaking. I keep hearing this, and I'm thinking you guys are on fucking crazy pills. Because even if we did have the pitching, we had no offensive production whatsoever with those teams. In the later years, in 2012, it was decent. But we fucking scoring a run sometimes was fucking tough in 2016, 2015. It just was not. It didn't just like happen. It wasn't like we were one fucking starter away from like a fucking good team. It's just, and it was, there needed to be more. And I think when everyone was talking, when Chris was talking, and then I just looked at your title and I'm like, Kyle, what the fuck? When he was going over stuff, I was just thinking, it's like, you're going to have, and I actually think you said this too, Sam, is that, you're hoping that Giolito gets to where Sale was, but you know what? I would take a Giolito from 2019 Giolito, maybe a little less, average-ish, 2 of him to 1 Sale. Like, give me a 3 and a 4. Give me a 2 and a 3. Instead of 1 solid 1. Because we did it with the 1-1 and it didn't work.
Well, thanks. We need the stars and we need the regular ass players. That's the point of. That's how you make the playoffs. You got to have the good ones.
I will
the regular motherfuckers that is good too.
Sale and then pay 2 pitchers $8 million each to be my 3 and 4. Like that's what.
But that's what. I'm not gonna. So I still think even with the possible. I mean, I'm gonna say this. this is a lost year of service time, in my opinion, for our cheap, young, controllable talent, right? Until I'm told otherwise. It's fucking May, right?
I
Like,
agree.
we'd be fucking, what, 40 games in the season at this point?
Yes.
35, 40 games in the season? If we don't forget that there's no baseball. We have no structure of any kind of any possible season even fucking happening.
Right.
So until I'm told otherwise, I'm going to say that this is a lost year. And then we don't know what's going to happen with, I mean, next year I'm not going to say that there's going to be a strike, but, a lot of these guys,
there could be.
We've seen during free agency are taking shorter contracts. I mean, we saw, I think in 2018 was the only the fourth time where salaries for the minimum salary for a player since like 1967 was the lowest or something. Or something insane. I might be quoting that wrong. I don't know for sure. But I mean, like minimum salaries were at like a fucking one of the all-time lows in the modern era 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was one of the first times that the salaries decreased. They dipped year over year.
I think was it last year, Beef, or was it 2 years ago?
I think it was last year. No, it was 2 years ago. It was not this most recent free agent. It popped back up again, but it was 2 years ago where it actually went a little bit below the prior year, which was extremely rare. Like you're saying, this never happens. Usually
it's only happened
solid growth.
Right. I think it's only happened like maybe a couple times since in the modern era, right? In whatever. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but we've seen the writing is not on the wall, but like we've heard rumors about it, and I hope to God it doesn't fucking happen. But I mean, if we see 2 lost years of our young controllable guys, like that's terrible. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Like you're looking at the window closing even further. So
yeah, faster than you would thought.
Before it even started, right? I mean,
yeah.
And so even if we play this year, let's say they go with that 3 division 10 team shit.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen the division the Sox would have to play in?
It's brutal.
Nightmare. The Braves are for some reason. Like,
yeah.
Like you have like the Brewers, the Cubs, the Cardinals, all the same teams that were good in your division are still in there, and then you have the Braves, and it's like, holy shit, man! Like that's a fucking hard division.
It's almost like the teams that are in our division are either good or just fucking awful. There's no in between.
Right. Yeah, there's only a couple of really awful ones in there right now. It's like I think Tigers and Royals.
You have
Tigers, Royals, and Pirates, right? Or
Pirates. That's right.
Pirates?
Yeah.
Were they in our division?
Pirates are East, aren't they?
No, they might be right.
They might be East.
You're right. There is one more bad one, but I can't remember who it is off the top of my head. But yeah, I know it's.
I would switch out the Marlins and the Braves any fucking day.
Right.
Sam, that was an absolutely excellent second thing. Here comes thing 3. And I know just from looking on Twitter and from you mentioning that I'm wearing the excellent Illini 108ing shirt that you're a tortured Illini basketball fan. And so is my Sox summer. So I figured I would bring this question in here. And the question for the group is, and Teresa, you and I really don't have strict college basketball allegiance, but I'm sure we got some things we could bring up. What's your most soul-crushing college basketball moment of your lifetime?
Soul-crushing college basketball moment of my lifetime. Oh man, I'm gonna fuck. Well, specifically, I'm gonna have to go with. I mean, losing the national championship in 05 has to be, I think in terms of moments, because I knew it was over once it happened. It was when Augustine fouled out in the national championship. I knew as soon as that happened in 05, that was, from every Illini fan's perspective, that was the writing on the wall that we were not going to win. I mean, Sean May going up against, God knows, I think it was, who filled in, and maybe it was Jack Ingram for Augustine. I might be mistaken, but
he's another good guy too.
Losing Augustine in the national championship was like, it was it was like nails on a chalkboard. It was just awful. And that happening was probably I remember when I was probably 13 at the time. I knew it was over. It was done. So as big of an Illini fan as I am, and this year sucked not being in the tournament, but that was it for sure.
I mean, I don't want to. I guess between the two, because I was probably around your age then in '89 I was 12, yeah, so it was around the same age when they lost to Michigan in the Final Four. That was brutal to watch, and as a kid too, and I feel like that was the first team that I was ever into. Sports-wise, and was like, oh, this is awesome. This is the funnest it's gonna be. You're like, and you don't know that in your virgin experience because you think, oh, this is just how it is. And then we had the Bulls, so it was like, okay, well, this is just what happens. Like your teams that you like are good, and watching Illinois get beat, and then not having anything really happen for a long time, and then 2005 popping up. And to be that good all year, and just to to go to the final game, went through Arizona, got it out of the first round. The first round was even kind of a rough game too, because I think they were like a 30-point favorite and they won by 12 or something. But 2005 is definitely probably the worst because it was, you were there, you got all the way to the end. You lost 2 fucking games the entire year, and they just found a way to win every time, and they just could not win in that year. It was just, oh god, it was bad. And luckily, I had Jägermeister that I could shoot afterwards, and so then I totally forgot about it until the next day. But there was a picture of me, and I'll have to find it. And the person didn't take the picture of me, but I'm in the background. And I'm just I'm shaking this guy's hand, who's a North Carolina fan at the bar that I watched it at. And then directly after, I'm just my hand is down like this. I'm just shaking my head, doing tons of shots of Jaeger and smoking a shitload of fucking Marble Lights outside. I mean, I just was like, this fucking sucks. It was so horrible.
As an impartial observer of those two teams, I remember both of them, and I'm not an Illini fan, but the Flying Illini in '89 were so clearly the best team, and then they lose to Glenn Rice basically by himself. It was weird. It was how'd they lose that game? How did they not get past Michigan?
It's hard to beat a team 3 times, man.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to beat a team 3 times, and they beat them twice during the regular season. They lost to them in the third game. The game at count, they lost to them.
And Glenn Rice was a stud. I mean, there's no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
Jerezy, how about you?
So I don't know if you remember when we were kids. I was a big Bobby Hurley fan.
I do remember, yeah.
And them getting bounced by Cal and Jason Kidd, and the first round or the second round of the tourney. It was early in the tourney. I remember being bummed about that. But I'm going to take you to my actual college years. And so when I was a freshman in college,
Treasy, where'd you go to school?
I went to DePaul. And me and Quentin Richardson were freshmen together, best friends.
Lovers.
I actually only saw him on campus once. I saw him on campus once, and he had a medallion on his gold chain that was or I think it might have been silver. It was a 3 this big, and I was like, yeah, they're paying this guy to be here. But
well, Q went to Whitney Young for high school, right? But he spent that 1 year at Brother Rice, and I remember I'm 2 years older than him. We were getting there ready to play the varsity game, and it was the sophomore game was going, and he was a freshman at the time and playing in the sophomore game, and he had 45 points. It was this guy would be the best player in the varsity game if they stuck around and let him fucking play in it, but they didn't.
He was awesome, and so we knew we had him for 1 year. There was no thought that this guy was going to stick around or anything. And so I lived on campus my freshman year, and in the cafeteria they had these Rice Krispie treats that were fucking gigantic. It was a wrapped Rice Krispie treat, the little ones you get in the store, this.
Yeah.
Whole sheet wrapped though, one, right? And so the kids who smoked a lot of pot on campus would tend to get these, you know, so like me. And so that team, they didn't have many good players, but they did have a center, and like it's Lance Williams, I believe was his name. And like the big thing with him was like they were like, can he keep his weight under control? Because he's a little bit of a he was 108 thick. Right, and so I remember
the camera has 10 pounds.
I
Allegedly.
I think it was the score.
Allegedly. Right.
I think it was the score at the time, and I was like listening to the radio with my roommate Vinny Baseball, and they're talking about how Lance Williams is like locked it down. He's looking good. Like, and we're like, oh shit, that's awesome, man. We might win some games. And we went to the cafeteria, and we saw that motherfucker walking out of the cafeteria with 3 of those Rice Krispie treats stacked, and then like 6 2-liters of Coke on top of them. That was like, I don't know what that was for, like if that was a single meal or what, but I was like, no, we're fucked. This team ain't gonna do shit. And then they didn't. They didn't do much of anything. And so at that moment, I was like, I'm clocked out on this. I don't give a shit about this team.
I could remember. It's funny. Mine is also DePaul. I could remember when we were kids, Treasy, the best basketball team in Chicago, growing up before the Bulls got good with it, was DePaul.
Yeah,
but it was
Ray Meyer, Joey Meyer.
Mark Aguirre, right?
So those guys are a little before my time. The team that I remember being soul crushed with, they went 26-2 in the regular season. When I went back to look up the record, I couldn't believe they had that good of a record. I remember them being real good and like being my favorite team and wanting to watch them all the time. They had Rod Strickland. They had Dallas Comegys, who I was convinced would be a great NBA player. Sucked. Never really did anything. Kevin Edwards. And they went 26-2 in the regular season, and then they lost in the regional semis, the Sweet 16, to LSU. And LSU was a fucking 10 seed. And so they got bounced out. But they were the iron pirate that DePaul always was, because they'd have like a 25-3 record, and you'd look at their schedule, and they played all these bum independent teams. And so like they could run up a big record, and they had good players and everything, but they'd run up a huge record, and then they get to the NCAA tournament and play any semblance of a decent team and lose. But when you're 9, you don't know that, or you think, oh, they're fucking 26. It's like when you see an undefeated boxer against another undefeated boxer. You don't know one of them was a palooka, and DePaul was the palooka in this, and they fucking lost their ass. And before, like, Joey Meyer's like, hey, thanks, Dad, taking over for Ray Meyer. And they had a couple good years. And in Joey Meyer's last year, they were 3-27. So you know why he lost the job.
So I think it was it Pat Kennedy was there maybe when I was there, and they
was Pat Kennedy.
They were, I think, Conference USA at that point, and it was still the same. It was like them beating up on shit teams. Like I think like Memphis was like the best team in that conference, other than them. And like then they went to the Big East, and it was just fucking sad. Like they just got. I remember like one of the first years there in the Big East. I don't think they won a game in their conference. I
was gonna say they'd go fucking calendar years without a victory in conference. Who the fuck does that?
The Big East just brought everybody in that one year too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They like triple their membership. Like they just like, hey, everybody come on in.
And all those teams beat the shit out of DePaul.
That's right.
What year was that?
When they went to the Big East?
Yeah.
It was in the 2000s because
was that 07?
It was probably 4 or 5 years after I graduated. So I think it was like 06, 07, probably around there. Like that's
I'm looking at
right to me because it's been a while that they've been in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They brought who else was it? Fuck man.
South Florida. There were some weird teams in there for a little bit.
Yeah.
Notre Dame go over there?
Did Rutgers go there in basketball but not football? Like I can't remember.
Speaking of Rutgers basketball, that's a legit basketball program now. I mean, fuck. Like
they've become 2005 they joined the Big East.
2005, okay.
Yeah, and I want to say that Rutgers, like, I think they were both in. They're both in the Big East, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's right. Sam, do you hate what's the guy's name? The head coach from Iowa, Fran McCaffrey. Do you hate him as much as My Sock Summer does? My Sock Summer wants to fucking kill this guy.
Okay, so I don't know if I can't say like the guys who I hate are like an old Iowa coach, Bruce Pearl, right?
Oh,
Hate Bruce Pearl.
I hate
Bruce
him
Pearl
too.
is the slimiest motherfucker that's ever recruited a college basketball player in modern fucking history.
My favorite thing about college sports fans is when they complain about the other ones being dirty. That's my favorite thing on earth because all the schools cheat and all this shit.
Bruce Weber, never been caught for cheating.
Well, just because you haven't been caught, I mean, that means you're good.
I can't say I hate Fran. I don't like Fran. I hate Bruce Pearl. He's the slimiest motherfucker. And I'm sure he does the same shit at Auburn that he fucking did at Iowa, and I'm sure he's been doing the same fucking thing for 20 fucking years. But I don't hate Fran. I think Fran I think Fran's got a little bit of an ego. I think he just I don't hate him though. I hate Bruce Pearl, and not to compare, but I don't like Iowa. I think but I think it's a good thing to have a rivalry. Like Illinois historically has been rivals, Indiana. But I almost think more Iowa now than Indiana, which I think is cool. Yeah. It means a good thing.
For sure.
Is Bruce Pearl the fucker that had the hood comment? Like some of his kids come from the hood?
Yeah.
From West?
Yes.
That's him.
He was
gigantic
behind
asshole.
the whole Deion. Whole Deion Thomas. They recorded Bruce Pearl, and he claimed. I was too young to know that. I don't even think I was born yet. I was born in 91. I think this happened like 89, right? I mean, I wasn't even alive yet. But there was some like recording that they took of Bruce Pearl, and they later found out that he was recruiting Deion Thomas illegally, and it was some like tampering, right? Is what it was.
Supposedly, Jimmy Collins had offered Deion Thomas a Chevy Blazer if he came to the University of Illinois, and it never, like, they could never prove that anything happened, and it was basically the tape that had been doctored allegedly by Bruce Pearl, and then it was conversations with Deion Thomas's friend and Deion Thomas, and like they're all in on this whole big thing. But like Illinois was never found. Supposedly, this is from what I can remember, they were never found guilty of anything, and they were still punished. And their program got set back right after that '89 run for the Final Four. So. Yeah. It really screwed us, and it was it's not a little joke, and like Bruce Pearl, he's a whole different fucking level. But Fran McCaffrey, that's a son of a bitch too, though, because that guy.
No, I agree. I don't.
All right, that's enough. That's
I want to say one.
Jacob, don't you agree? It's a good. I like having Iowa as a rival. The whole Indiana rivalry was getting old. We've been rivals with Indiana for 30 fucking years, right? And that, to be honest, Indiana has had a lot more historical success. Indiana is a better program than Illinois. It's nice to be on, like, Iowa is pretty comparable. I'd say Illinois is still probably historically a better program, but it's nice to kind of like have a rival where you're on the same level with.
100%.
All right, 100%. Sam, thanks so much for joining us. We'll get back. We'll have you back on again to talk about how Illinois is the only college basketball program in history that's never cheated. So thanks for coming on Three Things. Love you, brother. Look forward to seeing you in the lot.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.